New this morning, President Joe Biden launches the first airstrike of his presidency. Plus, a former Bonnie's men's basketball standout arrested after a confrontation with an Uber driver. And our own Ryan Bolin is in the studio to walk you through the Robin Hood stock situation. Sbu Tv Sports is back with another player profile, this time with Bonnie's women's basketball star, Tori Harris. Sbu TV starts now. Good morning, I am Jaron Holmes. Breaking news this morning, the United States military conducts first known airstrike under President Joe Biden. United States forces carried out airstrikes on Syria Thursday. The strike hit a site used by two Iranian-backed militia groups. U.S. official says a handful of fighters were killed. This strike comes after recent rocket attacks on the Erbil airport in Iraq, leaving 5 Americans wounded. Though the White House did not blame any specific group for the rocket attack, it did state it holds Iran accountable for the actions of its proxies. United States Defense Secretary confident in the strike.
Able to add at this point, other than the fact that we're confident in the target that we went after. We know what we hit, and we're confident that that target was being used by the same Shia militia.
This airstrike comes just as Washington and Tehran are positioning themselves for possible future talks about Iran's nuclear program. News coming out of Milwaukee this week, former Bonnie's men's basketball standout Jaylen Adams receives a citation from Milwaukee police. Adams, a point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks, arrested and cited for disorderly conduct and later released. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reports the altercation was with an Uber driver last Friday. The Bucks released a statement saying they are aware of the situation involving Adams and are gathering more information. They are and will continue to have open communications with Adams. Have you noticed students leaving their dorms with duffel bags and TVs? Many students have been asked to move into quarantine as part of tracing. While Rich Williams has the story.
One of the many ways St. Bonaventure University is keeping their students safe this semester is through contact tracing positive COVID tests. The process is simple. If someone tests positive for COVID-19, they will receive a phone call from a university contact tracer. The contact tracer will then ask them to list anyone they have been in close contact with. The students they list will then receive an email asking them to quarantine or isolate as well. So far, over 60 Bonaventure students currently in quarantine or isolation as part of contact tracing. But why are so many students deemed close contacts?
Just behind me is Doyle Hall, one of the locations on SBU's campus where students are quarantined. I caught up with Dr. Jeffrey Allen, a professor of health studies and one of the university's contact tracers, to find out what a close contact really is.
Close contact would be a couple of things. It would be, first of all, if you were even with a mask on within 6 feet of someone for more than 15 minutes. Another would be if they did not have a mask on.
To find out how students feel about contact tracing, I talked with one Bonaventure student whose roommate is in quarantine after being identified as a close contact.
You're always a little bit concerned that you might get exposed to COVID, especially in kind of a small place with a lot of people, but was I concerned that him getting quarantined would put me at risk of getting quarantined? No.
And the university is also happy with how the surveillance has gone so far.
Really, we haven't had that many. The only thing I would add to it is for the students to be honest with us, because it's all confidential.
For Sbu TV, I'm Rich Williams.
The university urges its students to fill out the daily screening form and comply with any pool testing selection. Before you head out the door, this morning, we bring you the most recent COVID-19 numbers for our community. Checked just minutes ago here in Cattaraugus County. Active cases declined under 200 total cases since the beginning of this pandemic. COVID-related deaths increased to 86. And before you head to your classes this morning, here are campus active cases rise to 13. 27 COVID patients have recovered, bringing the total number of COVID cases since the beginning of the semester to 40. Another week gone by and no new update on St. Bonaventure University President Dr. Dennis DePiero. At last, check He is still in a Syracuse hospital on a ventilator and listed serious but stable condition. Stay with us as we continue to check in with updates. St. Bonaventure University has established 5 class-free days during the semester. Sbu TV's Jordan Mejia asked students and the Director of Counseling Services what's the best way to spend the day.
St. Bonaventure University has issued 5 class-free days during the semester, with 1 just passing last Thursday. Students have used the day for mental relaxation to get away from the stress of class, with some using it to play chess, card games, gaming, and some even going to the gym. I asked a student about what they did with their day off, and they had this to say.
It's nice being able to sleep in the morning, especially with having an 8:30 every day. It's kind of nice. It was kind of nice being able to sleep until like 10, 11 during the middle of the week, and I really didn't do much other than like play video games, maybe hang out with friends a little bit.
I also spoke to Delray Honeycutt, who is the new Director of Counseling, about the mental health days, and she spoke about the ways to use the day effectively.
So I think we're all pretty burnt out on Zoom and FaceTime and Skype and all those various virtual forms. I know that the university is, depending on students to do their daily screening, to participate in the pool sampling, and are easing restrictions as students continue to show responsibility for those things. So eventually, you'll be able to have more contact, but right now you have classes in person and other ways to meet in person, either with roommates, and of course, social distancing. You can still see people and have the 6 feet apart and wear your mask. So if you're done with the Zoom thing, there's always the old school way of my generation by just picking up the phone and having phone conversations with someone.
With Sbu TV, Jordan Mejia, New, Now, Next.
We have 4 more non-class days within the coming months, so make sure to keep an eye out for those days by checking out the university calendar. U.S. Food and Drug Administration says Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine meets requirements for emergency use authorization. This vaccine only requires 1 dose, instead of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, which requires an initial shot and then a booster weeks later. However, the FDA finds that Johnson & Johnson vaccine only 70% effective at protecting against the COVID-19 infection. The FDA meets today to make its recommendation on the vaccine. The White House says $34 million will be released next week if emergency use authorization, if granted. President Joe Biden and the vaccine will be distributed as quickly as Johnson & Johnson can make it. The popularity of day trading in the stock market has skyrocketed since the start of the pandemic. Young people are at the center of it. January's events created the biggest controversy on Wall Street this year. Ryan Boland is in to take us through it.
Thanks, Jaron. At the beginning of January, it would have cost you just $17 to buy a share of GameStop, and you could do that right from the palm of your hand. But near the end of January, it would have cost you $483. That's a 2,000% increase that brokerages like Robinhood did not see coming. And the fear of going under forced Robinhood to restrict buying of this stock, allowing traders only to sell their positions. Now Robinhood thinks that public thinks Robinhood's on Wall Street's side and not theirs.
On January 27th, the market closed like any other trading day. The stock GME was up 2,000% respectively. Retail traders were making money and hedge funds were losing billions of dollars. That all changed on the morning of January 28th when the brokerage Robinhood restricted GME among other stocks and only allowed selling. Other brokerages followed suit, but Robinhood was at the face of the issue as they became the most popular trading app for new investors. GME's rise can be attributed to a Reddit forum named Wall Street Bets. People on the forum teamed up to buy GME, and as it continued to get press, more and more people joined the movement.
I'm in my room where it's common for young people to do their trading. Now, the reason GameStop rose so quickly was because hedge funds were shorting the stock, meaning betting the stock would go down. So when retail traders continued to buy the stock, hedge funds also had to buy the stock for large amounts of money to cover their losses, which only made the stock go higher.
The day Robinhood restricted buying the stock, retail traders immediately thought Robinhood did it to help their partners, Citadel, who also run a hedge fund.
My honest opinion, this is just my opinion based on nothing other than, this is how I feel, is that, Robinhood, had, some clients, some big dogs in there that were trapped, and they needed to get their clients out.
It affected investors new to trading. These investors aimed to join the movement and make a quick profit, but many investors took a loss.
I just watched my money just it went quick.
Retail traders made up their mind. They believe Robinhood and hedge funds colluded. But Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev is adamant that is not the case.
I want to be 100% clear. This decision was not made on the direction of any market maker or other market participants.
The case is now in D.C.'s hands, being heard in front of a Congressional Financial Committee. The hearing occurred on February 18th, where Tenev and Griffin denied any collusion allegations. Reporting for Sbu TV, I'm Ryan Bowler.
This whole meme stock saga has been monumental for retail traders. The little guys were finally winning, and Wall Street was losing. We may never know what Robinhood's true intentions were, but what we do know is they have a lot of work to do restoring their customers' faith in them. Since then, Robinhood has unrestricted the stock, and after falling below $40 per share just this week, on Wednesday afternoon, Reddit traders galvanized again and got it trading around $200. But on Thursday morning, the SEC restricted trading of the stock. But as of now, there's no restrictions, and as you can see, it's up 10% today. So keep an eye out next week, as things could get interesting on Wall Street. Jaron, back to you.
Thank you, Ryan. Before we go to break, look at your screens and get our social media handles. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to stay up to date on your local community. And when we come back, Sbu TV takes a look at Women's History Month, and we give you an update on the water quality here at Sbu TV. So stay tuned.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand, trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor. It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
I don't think we're free in this country. For 100 years, you saw Black people menaced and targeted and lynched and beaten and brutalized. I think we're burdened by this history. More people have to be willing to do that uncomfortable, inconvenient thing that justice requires for things to get better. Truth can inspire change. Learn more at EJI.org.
Next week is the month of March and the start of National Women's History Month. Sbu TV's Aiden Varley dives deep into the history of National Women's Month and talks to the students on their thoughts.
History Month honors women's contribution to American history. We celebrate women's contribution in sports, science, social movements, business, and other fields. Famous figure Susan B. Anthony fought for women's right to vote in 1920. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to help the efforts to end racial segregation. Female students are grateful for the women before them.
I want to become a doctor, and if none of those movements ever happened, that dream would never be possible to come true.
Women's History Month started as a celebration in Santa Rosa, California. In 1978, the celebration started out as Women's History Week. The organizers selected the week of March 8th to line up with International Women's Day. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter declared March 8th as National Women's History Week. In 1987, Congress passed public law to make the month of March Women's History Month. Sophomore Abby Sir believes there's more to improve on.
There's a lot to improve on, even with all of the movements, like the Me Too movement. There are a lot of people that still dismissed those women, and still dismiss like a lot of women and say that they're lying.
Many female leaders today have shaped our society. Kamala Harris has become the first female vice president in U.S. history. Many females are doctors who are continued to help fight the coronavirus. Women role models will continue to shape history even through troubling times. For Sbu TV, I'm Aiden Varley.
This week, Olean Mayor Bill Aiello asked presidents to do their part in clearing the city sidewalks. This comes as warmer days and colder nights may turn much of the snow on the ground into ice. Under Section 21-5 of the city ordinances, owners and occupants are asked to keep sidewalks free of snow and ice. As sidewalk conditions may become more dangerous, make sure you are doing your part in keeping everyone safe. Last week, Sbu TV looked into the questionable status of our campus water fountains. Jordan Fitch gives us more as he dives into the university's unexpected answers.
I spoke with Jared Smith, the director of facilities, about the filtration status of water fountains on campus. His response was surprising.
Almost all of our drinking fountains do not have filters.
The lack of filters wasn't only a surprise to me. I asked students, faculty, and staff the same question, and they all gave the same answer.
No, I didn't.
I did not. Wait, really? So none of the water is different?
Really? Oh my gosh. And I've been drinking that water for like the last year and a half.
I was always under the assumption that the water fountains for water bottles were filtered. So I specifically went to those fountains.
This water disparity doesn't stop with the drinking fountains. After testing the water from the fountain machines of Hickey, I found that the water there is also unfiltered. So, what's the difference? By using a TDS water tester, I am able to see how many dissolved solids are in the water. Without a filter, the water is simply tap water. As you can see in my building's water fountain, the TDS reads 389, as compared with my filtered water, which reads 002. On this graph, we see that tap water runs from 150 to 399 TDS, putting our drinking fountains on the higher side of the spectrum. Both Smith and the Village of Allegheny website confirm that the water is safe to drink. This is Jordan Fitch reporting for Sbu TV. New, now, next.
Our social media handles are up on your screens. I need you to take out your phones right now and follow us. Let us keep you updated on everything new, now, and next. After the break, we look at Bruce Springsteen's arraignment, plus a disgraced former Olympic gymnastics coach found deceased yesterday, and the House passes a new Equality Act. You don't want to miss it.
If doctors, nurses, and grocery store clerks can wear a mask for 10 or 12-hour shifts, you can wear a mask for an hour or less when you go to the store. Do your part. Be New York tough. Mask up, America.
What to expect when you're expecting
Like here.
a teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to team-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys, preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Prosecutors dropped DWI charges against Bruce Springsteen. The boss pled guilty Wednesday to a lesser charge, drinking at the Sandy Hook National Recreational Area in New Jersey. Despite knowing it was prohibited, the Assistant U.S. Attorney General said the government would not be able to prove the charges of reckless driving or driving under the influences. The judge ordered Springsteen to pay a $500 fine. Former Olympic gymnastics coach John Geddert found dead Thursday. Michigan's Attorney General ruled that Geddert took his own life. He faced human trafficking, sex crimes, and had ties to former gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar. Geddert was expected to turn himself in and go before a court and face 24 criminal felonies. The House of Representatives passed the Equality Act Thursday. The legislation would amend the 1964 Civil Rights Act to protect people from being discriminated based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Protection will extend into employment, housing, and other services, as well as access to public accommodations such as restaurants. 3 Republican representatives, including Tom Reed, our district's representative, joined Democrats in voting for passing the bill. Advocates for the LGBTQ community said the legislation will help protect people in states where it's legal to discriminate people. Critics of the legislation argue it raises serious concerns for religious communities as well as women in sports. Nancy Phillips, 65, of Olean, worked for CARES, the Council on Addiction Recovery Services, for 30 years as Human Resources Director and other roles.
No one at CARES worked there longer than her, but as an immunocompromised person, COVID became a threat to Phillips's health. So, Phillips retired from the nonprofit rehab in January. As Human Resources Director, based in the 201 South Union Street location, she oversaw hiring as well as background checking the over 70 employees. She also saw a lot of positive change in the organization during her time there. The staff grew by about 50, and more branches became established. She also met several patients who told her the treatment they received saved their lives.
I mean, it was. I felt like we did good work. I felt like it was needed. I felt like it was a lifeline for some people.
Now, Rachel Linderman, who has worked at CARES for 6 years, replaced Phillips and already feels a difference.
When somebody does a job for as long as Nancy has, that part of filling the shoes in gaining the institutional knowledge, I tried to gain as much of that institutional knowledge as I possibly could.
Linderman predicted treatment shouldn't be affected by the change. Phillips agreed, confident in her abilities. For Sbu TV, this is Hannah Legacy. New, now, next.
Coming up, a serious car accident leaves Tiger Woods in an LA hospital, the latest on his condition. Also, our own Ryan Boland takes to women's basketball star Tori Harris, her journey to Bonaventure and living up to high expectations. Next in sports on Sbu TV.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight, both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back, because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us this morning. We now toss to Louis, live and in studio with Sbu TV Sports. Louis, good morning.
Thanks, Jaron. As we mentioned earlier in the show, Jaylen Adams cited for disorderly conduct in Milwaukee. Adams, point forward for the Milwaukee Bucks and former Bonnie, was in an altercation with an Uber driver last Friday, according to a report from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. The Bucks released a statement Saturday saying, quote, "We are aware of the situation involving Jaylen Adams and are in the process of gathering more information. Sbu TV Sports is looking into the situation. Watch our social media for more information." Just like last weekend, the Bonnies have a busy schedule in their final days of conference play. The St. Bonaventure men's basketball team returns to the Riley Center tonight, taking on George Washington. They're looking to build on 2 conference wins against Davidson. And the women's team is in Philadelphia playing St. Joseph's tonight. You can catch both games on the ESPN Plus starting at 6 p.m. Also, Jesse Fleming and his squad finished their road trip off against the Explorers at 2 p.m. on Sunday. That airs on ESPN Plus as well. The three-pointers flew when the Bonnies closed out a back-to-back series with the Davidson Wildcats. Guard Kyle Lofton started out hot, scoring first with a nothing-but-net 3, and guard Dominic Welch shot 5 consecutive three-pointers in the first half. Later in the second half, the game tightened up and was even tied 53-53. That was until Jalen Adaway shot the game-winning three-pointer, and with one final block from the big man Oshun, the Bonnies regained first place in the A-10 with a 56-53 win. As for the Bonnies women, they have won 4 of their last 6 games. In that span, Tori Harris averaged 10 points a game. Our own Ryan Bolin was one-on-one with Tori, talking about her journey to Bonaventure and her family's influence on her game.
Joined by junior guard Tori Harris, the second leading scorer on the women's Bonnie's basketball team. Tori, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Let's start off with your experience at James Madison. What went into your decision to transfer from a team that had a lot of success in your 2 years there?
I just felt like Jamie wasn't giving me what I wanted out of college basketball. I wasn't playing that much, and I just wasn't playing the role that I wanted to play.
Due to NCAA transfer rules, you had to sit out the 2019-2020 season. How was that experience for you?
It was just like a great year to like build my confidence, build my game. I was just trying to get my mental together, trying to remember how much I love basketball. So I really enjoyed like that last year sitting out.
Let's talk about your family. Your brother plays professionally for the 76ers in the NBA. What was it like growing up in such a great basketball family, and did you ever feel pressure to succeed?
Being like the youngest, you always are compared to them, but like, you know, I just always tell myself like I'm not Tobias, I'm not Tyler, you know, I'm not like all of them. Like I'm different, and the pressure, it's never something like I think about.
Having a brother in the NBA, I'm sure is a really cool experience, but did you ever feel like you were trying to escape his shadow? For example, people might say, hey, that's Tobias Harris's little sister, rather than, hey, that's Tori Harris, great basketball player at St. Bonaventure. Do those kind of things ever get to you?
Oh, it's like definitely really annoying, like when I watch the games back and like they have like a specific like caption made that said Tobias Harris's little sister. It's not what I like, but I'm proud of him, so it's just like a thing I'm used to now.
Just this past Monday, you helped end an 8-game losing streak to Duquesne with your 11th double-digit scoring performance of the season. What's the team's mindset going into the last 2 games of the year and into the A-10 tournament?
We just want to try to finish like in that middle of the conference so that we can get past the first round and see where we can go from there.
Thanks so much, Tori, for taking the time to speak with us today. I know you have a really busy schedule. Good luck the rest of the season.
This morning, Tiger Woods transferred to another hospital to continue his recovery following a rollover accident outside of Los Angeles earlier this week. Woods underwent emergency surgery for a series of leg injuries. He was the only person in the vehicle at the time of the accident. Authorities emphasize the area where the accident occurred has a history of incidents. Early indications show no sign of drug or alcohol impairment. Follow us on social media for updates on his condition. It's time for this week's Sbu TV Sports Trivia question, and fans had to dig deep to answer this tricky question. Currently, all 5 of the men's basketball starters average double figures in points, which leads us to this week's question. What was the last year St. Bonaventure finished a season with 5 players averaging double figures in scoring? Many people submitted the correct answer of 2014-2015, but no one was faster than Bryce Kelly, a sophomore at SBU from Marcellus, New York. Congratulations, Bryce. Will we have another first-time winner next week, or will one of our veterans continue showing off their Bonnie's knowledge? Make sure to follow us on our social media so you won't miss next week's question, which will be posted on Tuesday. And before we get out of here, good luck to our very own Jaron Holmes and the men's basketball team tonight against DW. That's all for sports. Back to you, Jaron.
Are you looking for local news? Don't worry, we got it. So take a look at your screens and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. A local owl healthy and back in the wild this morning. Check out this barred owl. As it's known, this owl was hit by an Olean area school bus earlier this month. The owl flew into the bus right outside the Firefly Bakery. The bakery is located downtown Olean. An area animal rescue and rehab group swooped in to take care of the owl. We're told that the owl had a concussion and a fractured break. This little guy has no name but was in medical rehab for more than 2 weeks. He was released into the wild this past Sunday. By the way, a barred owl is native to Eastern America, but can also be found out west. I want to thank you for spending your Friday morning here with us at Sbu TV. I hope you have a safe and wonderful weekend. Goodbye.